North Island, New Zealand. Lake Karapiro, a man-made lake created by damming the Waikato River. A beautiful stretch of water, but so remote from the rest that it hardly seems the most likely place to hold the World Championships for any international sport. To hold the 1978 World Rowing Championships. 12,500 was from London, 10,000 miles from Moscow, and 11,000 from Berlin. Could the New Zealanders organize the event? They'd never done it before. And above all, would the crews come so far to compete? They came. At the appointed time, an invasion of the finest oarsmen and women in the world descended on Lake Karapiro to prepare to battle for high honor in the sport.
Thank you. Good morning.
From all over the world they came. Some had crossed more than half of it to get here. A few had less far to come.
Thank you.
The Chinese, comparative newcomers to rowing, took it very seriously. But for everyone, work started at dawn. For every athlete here, the championships were the culmination of years of work and years of hope. There was no time to lose. Boats and bodies had to be retuned after long hours of flying. The mornings began quietly for some, less so for others. Well, whatever turns you on and tunes you up. Some greeted the morning with music of a different style. Some 500 competitors with their officials came to this lovely isolated lake. But holding the championships here was still an act of faith. No one knew if the weather would hold or if the hoped-for spectators would arrive. The success of an event like this depends not only on the oarsmen and women. The whole thing couldn't take place without months of labor and years of planning by many other people.
Angela Gold, please come to the main office. Angela Gold, thank you.
Laying out the 2,000-meter course is complex and physically very hard work. At Karapiro, this was done by the local New Zealand rowing clubs, led by engineer-designer Don Rowlands, chairman of the organising committee, and himself a former great international oarsman.
Boys, quickly! Come on, Barry, shake it up!
Don had managed to break his arm while working on the laying out of this course. 27,000 metres of cable had to be laid 1.5 metres below the surface to provide a wire grid which will hold the starting platforms and the 1,800 buoys that mark the 8-lane course. Boats continue to arrive. They've been brought from each competing country, some 120 boats from 29 nations. All had been crated and transported to Karapiro. Freighting boats long distances is not the kindest treatment for them. One American boat had 5 feet cleanly cut off its length by tidy-minded dockers so that it would fit more neatly into its crate. Fortunately, both parts arrived at Karapiro together and were skillfully reunited. But eventually there arrived on the shores of the lake a fine collection of rowing equipment to be unpacked lovingly and reassembled into highly tuned racing machines. Some adjustments must be right to a precise degree. It was a fully international event, but politically one of the most relaxed. The battles would be on the water, according to rules accepted by all. Here, far away from the political conflicts that had disturbed other sporting events, little security was thought necessary. During the early stages of training, tourists mingled with the athletes in the boat park. But all this charm and relaxation is totally misleading. These are fighting ships entering the water. These are fighting men getting ready for battle, launching into the preparation for conflict, a conflict for which they've been preparing for years. Beneath all this easy, sunlit scene, there's a deep aggression here. This is no keep fit class, and this is not just a display of technique. This is a meeting of men and women who mean to win, to beat all others. This is the setting for triumph and failure, and as you watch these preparations, never forget it. Crews need space to train. Lake Karapiro had a great advantage over the man-made courses like Nottingham and Montreal. There were 16 miles of usable river, and aside from the marked-out course, the whole width of the lake on which crews could train without disturbing each other. The New Zealanders trained well upstream. In 1972, their 8 won Olympic gold. This time, they were on home waters. They would row before a New Zealand crowd. They were hungry to win. The 8 had not been seen in Europe during the last year. To most of their opponents, they were an unknown quantity. Here, far up the river, there were few to notice that they'd somewhat changed their style since they were last on the international scene. They now rowed with greater reach. In the dining hall, everyone would concentrate on replacing the calories that were being used up. The observer might be forgiven sometimes for thinking that at Karapiro, eating too was a competitive sport.
Immer bleiben dran am Wasser, vorne beim Fass.
In training, the GDR, the East Germans, showed great precision of blade work and a kind of easy, relaxed style that comes from many, many hours of practice. No sport requires more discipline than rowing, and the quality of the GDR technique suggests long hours of steady-state endurance paddling conducted under careful and rigorous coaching. This is a beautifully balanced crew, and each sculler in it is a world or Olympic champion in his own right. The GDR has been the world's supreme rowing nation for a decade. Their 8 has won gold medals in the last 2 championships and the Olympic gold as well. Can they do it again? The GDR has a crew in each of the 14 events in this championship.
Bombe, dein Blatt geht weg im Vorderzug. Haut noch nicht zu hart rein. Bitte, bleib ruhig, bleib bei der normalen.
The Russian coxless 4, not showing the same precision and technically rougher than the GDR crew, but big, strong, fit men. There was a lot of power in this boat. Australia, also big and strong, but recently beaten by both the New Zealanders and the British 8. Psychologically, not a good way to come to a championship of this class. wasn't all gentle paddling.
Paddling!
Here, racing starts not only tune up technique, they also tune up the latent aggression that's got to be in the heart of anyone who competes at this level. Somewhere inside, there must be a kind of anger to make them explode into violent action like this. There doesn't have to be any conflict between sportsmanship and a fierce driving competitive urge, a need to win. Here with the Bulgarians, you see that need in action. As the first day of competition approached, there had to be some security checks. But like all the organization, it was relaxed, gentle, and very efficient. Many regulars thought Karapiro was the happiest championships they'd ever known.
G'day, how are you, boy? Welcome to Karapiro.
This relaxed efficiency began at the top with Don Rowlands and his colleagues, mostly ex-oarsmen. They managed to impose the firm discipline needed to make the championships run smoothly, yet always with great courtesy.
Yes, and Warren, you got a sec?
Oh, yeah, well, we got to win. It's the biggest gamble this side of Las Vegas, you know. Yeah. Now, if the public don't show up, we'll be in the...
Yes, that's right.
It's all we're relying on the goat, completely.
The New Zealanders had laid out the course meticulously. The weather behaved itself. The lake was one of the most beautiful stretches of rowing water anywhere in the world. Whatever was happening in the hearts and minds of the competitors, on the lake all was calm. The water itself seemed to be waiting. But there was one ritual to be completed before competition began. The Maoris had once owned this land. They still had rights here. And so, before the championships began, Tommy Keller, president of the International Rowing Federation, went to pay them his respects. He was greeted by a ceremonial challenge. To show that he comes in peace, Keller picks up the challenge stick. Other officials, like Christopher Davidge, the FISA man responsible for regatta arrangements, went through a quieter ritual exchange.
Correct. The course will be pretty well finished by tomorrow, except just the overhead markers just here at the finish, which will go up on Monday. Otherwise, everything, the communications, all the, the Albano system, everything will be finished by tomorrow.
У нас есть личные просьбы от русской команды, пусть он закажет хорошую погоду.
We have a personal request to you.
Yes.
Can you order a good weather for racing?
We'll do our best. This week it has been good.
And they did. The sun shone, the spectators came, the stage was set. The New Zealand oarsmen were clearly proud that they'd been asked to stage the championships.
Seems hardly possible to realise. We're a small and remote country, and in asking the world rowing to come to our shores was asking a great deal. But the leaders of the world rowing agreed. They've put their trust in us, and I'm confident that their verdict will be that we have honoured that trust.
The flag of the International Rowing Organization, FISA, showed only a gentle breeze blowing across the course, and the championships had begun.
The United States coming back again, but they're locked together for that third place. The West Germans moving away.
Karapiro was no longer a remote, isolated stretch of water. The sporting press of the world had arrived. Television and radio moved in. For the next week, the happenings on this lake would make sporting news around the world.
Blue shorts, Holland behind them with the...
The preliminary heats were soon over, and the battle for medals was on. The women's finals.
Democratic Republic.
Bulgaria lead, 200 metres to go. The Bulgarians looking good.
The Bulgarian double sculls had won at the Montreal Olympics. They were to win again, leading all the way, though pressed hard by the Russians.
They're lying second, Norway and the Soviet Union. The Bulgarians have a good lead, though. They've got a length on the rest of the field, and the Soviet Union are in second place. Here come the United States double now. Lisa Hansen and Liz Hills, who were third last year, moving up into third equal place with Norway. The Soviet Union holding second. The Bulgarians will go across now and win in 4 minutes and 1 second. Second place Soviet Union won't pick it between the United States and Norway for third.
And so the sweat and pain and triumphs on Lake Karapiro were recorded and broadcast. And so it was to be for the 14 events of the championships. For the oarsmen at Karapiro, this little control tower on the edge of the lake was to be the controlling force in their lives for the next week. From here would issue rules, regulations, judgments and decisions. Decisions that would mean that some would lose and others would win.
Okay. That's for the... I'll take it down to the judge.
That's a much better start.
The women's single sculls. Christine Hahn from the GDR has been world champion 4 times. Not surprisingly, she's the favourite today. But Anna Kondrashina, the Russian girl, is expected to give her a fight.
And it's Hahn from East Germany and Valenova from Bulgaria already showing out as they go through the halfway mark in 2 minutes 5.52. Christine Hahn, the world champion, leads from Picatinny of Hungary. Then Valenova from Bulgaria. Kondrashina is almost a full length down on the leaders. The women's single sculls. Hahn leads. Anna Kondrashina from the Soviet Union's come up to within a boat length of Christine Hahn, and she is now in second place. Third is Picatinny from Hungary. Christine Hahn, the world champion, moving away now. She's got a full length on Kondrashina from the Soviet Union. Hahn of East Germany leads in the women's single sculls. 60 metres to go. She leads by a full length over Kondrashina. 1 length back to Marianne Picatinny from Hungary. Another length and a quarter back to Valenova from Bulgaria. Joan Lind mounting a challenge. Joan Lind was second at Montreal and 5th last year, lying 5th as Hahn goes across the line and wins it. Kondrashina second, Picatinny third. Another length back to Iskra Valenova fourth, and 3/4 of a length to Joan Lind of the United States 5th, and another 6 lengths back to Anita Marin of Romania.
The women's eights. The GDR have won on the last 4 occasions, but the standard of women's rowing has been improving fast in many countries. This year, they may not have it all to themselves.
The Union have a canvas on East Germany, who have their rating at 40, and the Russians would be probably over that. They would have come out of the pontoons at about 42, splashing a little bit of water around, but looking very good and strong. Soviet Union in the centre.
The Russian boat had been damaged in transit and had undulations in its hull. But these 8 big girls had a lot of power.
And pick up the gold medal. 100 metres to go in the women's eights. It's the Soviet Union. They have got almost a full length, just over a length they have now on East Germany. The Soviet Union looking strong and powerful in the women's eights, racing away with 60 metres to go. Coming down to the finish now, and they will win the women's eights. Crossing the line now, the Soviet Union win. They have a length and a quarter on East Germany.
Women's rowing has only recently been accepted as a World Championship sport. The Montreal Olympics were the first at which they appeared. For the first years, the GDR girls virtually swept the board. Now, other nations are showing that they have women's crews of true international caliber, and that rowing well is as much a matter of technique as of brute masculine force. At Karapiro, women's rowing went further to justify its place on the international sporting programme. They certainly gave an exciting start to the championships.
If the weather conditions will keep up, if we have good conditions tomorrow, I think this will be one of the best World Championships we ever had.
The weather did hold and the crowds increased. Altogether, during the regatta, nearly 100,000 people crowded the shoreline, more spectators than had watched any previous World Championship. The men's double sculls.
Good conditions at Lake Karapiro.
The British pair, Hart and Bailey, a magnificent crew, medal winners for 5 years and last year's champions. But they're competing in an outstanding field.
Norway won from the same Great Britain crew, so they've certainly been great rivals over the past 2 or 3 years.
They come up to the halfway mark. Great Britain has settled onto a rating of 36, and New Zealand settled very early onto a rating of 33, which I thought was rather slow.
Through the 1,000 in 3 minutes 23, it's Alfred Frank Hansen from Norway. Double gold medalists. They won at 75 the World Championships. They won the Olympic title at Montreal. The Norwegians starting to lift it now. Up to 36. Norway starting to edge ahead of Great Britain now. Chasing them hard. Bailey and Hart from Great Britain, who won last year. They're the 2 leading crews. They've got a break on the rest of the field of a good length now. 2:50 to go in the double sculls. Norway now moving away from Great Britain. Norway lead by 3/4 of a boat length. The Norwegians now starting to move away over the last 40 metres. Norway will go away and win by over a length. Looking very good indeed. Norway's Alf and Frank Hansen recapture their title and cross the line now. A length and a quarter back to Hart and Bailey from Great Britain.
So the Hansen brothers have done it again. Great technicians and fine natural athletes with a long record of international success, which this time they celebrate in the traditional manner. Only, as double sculls don't have a cox, they throw in their team manager. The relaxed holiday mood of the spectators is very different from the concentration and tension 2,000 meters away at the start of the coxless pairs. There are good, strong crews in the race. The Irish, who did surprisingly well in the heats. Roberts and Clark for Great Britain. But they all know that the crew they have to beat is this one, the Landvoigt twins from the GDR.
The Landvoigt twins lead, coming out of the pontoons at 44 and flying. They've gone out to a third of a boat length on the rest of the field.
The Landvoigt twins had started well and, as usual, set a fast pace with a long reach on each stroke. Could the British pair, which had suffered an assortment of injuries throughout the season, offer a serious challenge?
So the crew's starting to spread out now a little bit. The Landvoigt twins, Jörg and Bernd, they're leading as they go through the 17:50 mark. Still leading from Roberts and Clark of Great Britain. A new coach this year they've got, and she's a woman too. Quite happy to take orders. He's starting to sprint now, really winding up. East Germany lead, 3/4 of a boat length back to Great Britain. East Germany, who won 2 years ago, so this is very much as we would have expected this race to finish, with the East Germans first and Great Britain second. That's the way it's shaping. Now the Landvoigts put in their sprint, renowned for it. A full length and a quarter the Landvoigts have over Great Britain's Roberts and Clark. Another length back to the Frenchmen. Only a canvas down to Holland. 3 lengths back to Ireland. Another half a boat length back to the United States. Going across the line and winning, the Landvoigts from East Germany. A length and a quarter to Roberts and Clark of Great Britain. East Germany have won. The coxless pairs, the Montreal gold medalists, the Landvoigt twins, have come out and won. So we've had
the twins won by 2.7 seconds after a tremendous battle over the last 500 meters. The British pair took a well-earned silver. The championships were going well. The organisers could relax. Their careful planning was paying off. This was international sports organisation at its best.
Okay. That's correct.
Lane 1.
And the New Zealand Prime Minister, Robert Muldoon, turned up to give the occasion his official seal of approval. He was escorted by Ernest Bigland of the Guardian Royal Exchange, the chief sponsor of the championships.
When you're ready, go ahead.
They went aboard the specially designed filming catamaran to follow the single sculls final.
That's at 6, 5 back a couple of inches. 5 back, 5 back, 5 come back, 4 come back. 2 inches forward, 4, 2 inches forward, 4, that's good. 5, that's good. Okay, 1 forward, 1 forward. Okay, 1, 6 forward, 6 forward. 3 forward, 3 forward. Okay, that's fine.
The Prime Minister was to see the sculler who many thought was perhaps the finest competitor in the regatta. The whole lineup for the single sculls was one of the strongest for years, but Peter Michael Kolber of West Germany is the man to watch.
A very good sprint away by Peter Michael Kolber. Peter Michael Kolber, just 25, but says this will be his last World Championships. He's going to really retire this time after coming out for these ones, and he wants to go out, of course, on a winning note. Going through 750 metres in the single sculls final, and it's Kolber, the world champion in 1975, Pertti Karppinen, on his right. You'll be keeping an eye on Karppinen. You won't want to get caught again, as he did in the last time he contested a World Championships or Olympic Championships. A length and a half, still Kolber's lead as he approaches the 1,500 metre mark. Rijker's still chasing after him, but hasn't worn down that lead at all. Rijker's into second place, 270 metres to go. Kolber leads from Rijker, and he's too strong for the rest of the field. Rijker will be second. He's a clear boat length on the other two. Dobson's made a sprint now and past Karppinen to come up level with Staniloff. So there'll be a great race for the bronze medal. Staniloff will hold him out, though, I think. Peter Michael Kolber's got 20 metres to go. He will win comfortably, cruising across the line. Rijker's really sprinting, and he will take second place. And across goes the winner, Peter Michael Kolber, giving him 2 gold medals in World Rowing Championships in single sculls. He won his first in 75, and he's won this one from Sydney.
For those who aren't competing, regattas are also a social occasion, be it Henley or Karapiro.
Good morning. Is that mine? What have you ordered?
Si l'autre, si s'entraînait pendant 2-3 mois, alors il battrait l'autre.
Oh, here's my man. And it's the wrong man. All beer is great.
Oh, good.
Thank you. Thank you for providing all this. It's come together extraordinarily well. Very, very pleased. We are too tremendous. They sit you at the table? Yes, yes. Fantastic. Well, this is a country that loves its sport, of any kind. It's quite obvious. Any kind of sport, this country loves. Thank you. Mr. Prime Minister, may I introduce you, my wife? Yes, I met.
Yes. Sorry, I'm not as good as Mr.
Ernest Bigland tried to compare the skills of the Maori war canoes with that of the racing eights, talking with his other distinguished guest, the Maori Queen. They came to no very firm conclusions.
60, I think, on 60. 30 each side.
Depending on the size of them.
Yeah.
I mean, the size.
Could they very undersized? Could they beat some of these crews today?
They'll win a gold medal.
For the competitors, there were other styles of relaxation. A picture of the famous 1972 Olympic New Zealand 8 decorated each of the 73,000 beer cans delivered to Karapiro and eventually drunk. At times, it's vital to be able to get away from the water, to switch off, to stop thinking about rowing and competition, if only for a few minutes.
Скорее мы ветшаем, и с течением наших лет и дней легче мы своих друзей теряем, обретаем их куда трудней. Друг споткнулся.
But whatever you do, the rowing is never far away. No one can really forget that they're here to row, and if possible, to win. The coxless fours, Can the Russians this year beat the classic GDR crew, champions since 1974? The British crew are very young but very fit and thought to be in with a chance.
So many false starts with those windy conditions. These excellent conditions have meant excellent starts. The inside, Russia, then France, then West Germany, then East Germany, Czechoslovakia and Great Britain. This is a new Soviet Union crew which actually beat East Germany at the Eastern European Championships, and that East German crew hasn't been beaten for a long, long time. Maybe they'll do it.
Now in slow motion. Strength, power, rhythm. It looks easy, but rowing is also about pain. However hard the training, however fit the oarsmen, however polished the technique, in a race there is always the pain of unrelieved, sustained effort. And the constant knowledge that at the end of 2,000 meters and some 250 strokes, the men who win may well be those who can stand that pain just a little longer than anyone else on the water.
In with a chance though, but the Soviet Union hanging on as they come in front of me and straighten up on the angle. There's still half a canvas down. The Soviets tiring, the East Germans charging for the line. Third place will be Britain. None of the others look as if they're moving compared with the front two. The Soviet Union 10 to go. East Germany come at them and lose it. The East Germans are beaten by the Russians at the World Rowing Championships in the coxless fours. Third place, Great Britain. We'll get the others for you shortly. Soviet Union.
Now the supreme event of the championships, the grand final of the men's eights.
The flag is up. They're racing in the eights final, and already the crowd here of nearly 40,000 starts.
The New Zealand eight is racing on its home waters in front of a New Zealand crowd. Can they get into the medals? The New Zealand commentator certainly thinks so. Listen as he almost talks them home.
New Zealand doing well. East Germany looking good on the far side, but West Germany in the centre are the nearest to New Zealand. They're roughly in line. It's West Germany and New Zealand. Nothing much between any of the crews though. The Australians dropping back a little. Bulgaria too. But no one's really dropped back a great deal yet. New Zealand working hard, working well. Bulgaria leading, rating 38, just a little higher than New Zealand. They're in lane one, nearest the bank, and the crowd will really roar for them. 40,000 people at Karapiro, right down as far as we can see. France, West Germany. The Australians still up there too. It's very tight indeed. As they go through the half and 2:55, New Zealand's back in front. New Zealand has a canvas on Bulgaria, East Germany, West Germany. They're the crews in behind. New Zealand's in front by a canvas at the half. Went through too in under 3 minutes. Good start, looking good New Zealand, looking strong. New Zealand looking great with 600 to go in the Eights Championships 1978. New Zealand still looking good, half a length in front. The East Germans in lane 6 across on the outside, but surely with 40,000 streaming. New Zealand on the inside lane, nothing will catch them. 500 to go in the Eights final. New Zealand leads, half a boat length back to West Germany and East Germany together. Then the Australians and France vying for fourth, and at the back we've got the crew coming up the centre, Bulgaria. New Zealand on the inside have got half a boat length on the rest of the field. Still looking good. West Germany in the centre looking very strong too. This is the sort of climax we expected to the 1978 Championships of the World. Watching them across the line, East Germany win by a third of a boat length from West Germany. 3/4 of a length back to New Zealand on the inside. They got the bronze again.
New Zealand had made a great race of it, but in case you missed it, overwhelmed by the commentators' homegrown enthusiasm, it was East Germany, the GDR, which took the gold, and West Germany, the silver. Well, the New Zealand 8 may only have won the bronze, but if there were medals for running regattas, the New Zealand organisers would have deserved a gold. The grand final of the 8s was the climax of a superbly run and very happy championships. And the last gold medals go once again to the GDR. For them, it had been another international triumph. Out of 14 events, their men and women had won 8 gold and 3 silver medals. The other golds went to Russia, Bulgaria, West Germany, and Norway. Great Britain's men won 2 silvers and a bronze, making them one of the most successful teams in the championships. Again, tradition must be observed. In hospitable New Zealand, you don't just get a gold medal when you win, you get one of those 73,000 cans of beer, even if spectators have to swim out to give it to you. It was all over, well, almost. 2 great Maori war canoes, each with 60 paddlers, came to honour the championships. A fitting and dramatic end to a wonderful week on the waters of Lake Karapiro.
I think every horseman and every official who decided to come here is extremely glad that he did come, and I think everyone is absolutely enthusiastic about the days they have spent here.
No.
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 Okay, I'll treat it. I'll treat it. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
At Petone foreshore, crews are busy preparing for the New Zealand 8-oar championship. Wellington's new shell, Betty, is christened by the club president, Mr. W.J. Gowdin. The crews take the water for the 2 main events of the Interprovincial and the Varsity 8s to be rowed over the 2-mile Karapiro course on Wellington Harbour. At Petone foreshore, crews are busy preparing for the New Zealand 8-oar championship. Wellington's new shell, Betty, is christened by the club president, Mr. W.J. Gowdin. The crews take the water for the 2 main events of the Interprovincial and the Varsity 8s to be rowed over the 2-mile Karapiro course on Wellington Harbour. complete absence of wind make perfect rowing conditions. Auckland University takes an early lead from Canterbury and holds it to the finish. Nearing the finish, Auckland increased the lead from Canterbury to a length and a half, with Victoria third and Otago fourth. Starters for the Interprovincial Eights, which is an important British Empire Games trial, get away perfectly. Wanganui number 1 take the lead from Auckland, Otago, Wanganui 2, Wellington and Southwood. Wanganui stroking 32 to Auckland's 36, which they maintained for most of the race. Over the last quarter mile, Auckland draws away from Wanganui, increasing the lead to about 2 lengths. In the final sprint, Auckland have increased their stroking to 40 to Wanganui's 38, and win by a length and 3/4. Otago was third. Auckland are represented by the West End crew, and by this win over Adamo of Wanganui, prove themselves New Zealand's leading eight. The new lake, which has been formed by the damming up of the Waikato at Karapiro, was the scene of this year's New Zealand Amateur Rowing Championships. 22 clubs entered for the various events, and a record crowd of 15,000 watched the races from the old riverbank. In the championship double sculls, 6 clubs were represented, and as in all championship events, the course was 1.25 miles. Auckland's West End club nearest the camera cracked on the pace from the start and took the lead for the first few hundred yards. Petone nearest and Adamo on the far side were next to show up, and they forged ahead with Adamo going slightly faster and soon taking the lead. Petone passed the tiring West End pair, and as they neared the finishing line, Petone on the near side overhauled Adamo hand over fist. It looked as though they might get there, but Adamo made a supreme effort to hold their lead and win by 2 feet from Petone. It was Adamo's first victory in the double sculls, and this year's crew were J. Snyder and D. Simonson. In the championship senior fours, Avon led Adamo, Napier and Port Chalmers on one side of the course, and on the other side, Petone were rowing fast ahead of Auckland and Waitemata. With 100 yards to go, Avon was still leading, but Adamo had more in reserve, and with a terrific finishing burst, passed Avon right on the line to win by a canvas and give Adamo their second national title. 7 scullers started in the championship singles, with title holder Snyder of Adamo in lane 1 nearest the camera. Snyder took the lead almost from the gun, and a good tussle seemed likely when Heglen of Wairau drew away from the others to challenge for the lead. But near the quarter mile, Snyder went outside a buoy marking the course and lost 7 lengths, getting his unwieldy craft back into line. All excitement went out of the race as Heglen led by 6 lengths from Fisher and Abbott, with Snyder tailing the field in an impossible position. Heglen won comfortably by 4 lengths from a former title holder Abbott of Petone, with McCartan also of Petone third and Fisher of Mercer fourth. Chris Heglen, the new single sculls champion, represented the Wairau Club of Blenheim and is the son of a former champion oarsman. Most sought-after title of the regatta is the Championship Eights, the blue ribbon of rowing where teamwork counts as much as individual skill. The 6 competing clubs shot away in line abreast, with West End nearest the camera and stroking 40, having a slight edge on the others and establishing a narrow lead. Petone also showed up early but couldn't keep up the pace and were replaced by Waitemata in the stripes. And on the far side, the favourites Adamo, who recently won the New South Wales title, moved up into second place ahead of Waitemata. With 1/4 mile to go, Waitemata was still in third place, with West End rowing strongly in the lead and holding an advantage of 3/4 of a length over Adamo, who were challenging hard in an all-out effort to retain their title. but the West End crew answered every challenge to be first home with Adamo second and Waitemata third. It's West End's first national title since the club was formed in 1884 and the major upset of the championships. The success of the regatta and the ideal conditions of the lake established Karapiro as New Zealand's #1 rowing course. Wellington's new shell, Betty, is christened by the club president, Mr. W.J. Gowdin. The crews take the water for the two main events of the Interprovincial and the Varsity Eights to be rowed over the 2-mile Karapiro course on Wellington Harbour. Water and the complete absence of wind make perfect rowing conditions. Auckland University takes an early lead from Canterbury and holds it to the finish. Nearing the finish, Auckland increased the lead from Canterbury to a length and a half, with Victoria third and Otago fourth. Starters for the Interprovincial Eights, which is an important British Empire Games trial, get away perfectly. Wanganui #1 take the lead from Auckland, Otago, Wanganui 2, Wellington and Southwood. Wanganui stroking 32 to Auckland's 36, which they maintained for most of the race. Over the last quarter mile, Auckland draws away from Wanganui, increasing the lead to about 2 lengths. In the final sprint, Auckland have increased their stroking to 40 to Wanganui's 38, and win by a length and 3/4. Otago was third. Auckland are represented by the West End crew, and by this win over Adamo of Wanganui, prove themselves New Zealand's leading eight. The new lake, which has been formed by the damming up of the Waikato at Karapiro, was the scene of this year's New Zealand Amateur Rowing Championships. 22 clubs entered for the various events, and a record crowd of 15,000 watched the races from the old riverbank. In the championship double sculls, 6 clubs were represented, and as in all championship events, the course was 1.25 miles. Auckland's West End club nearest the camera cracked on the pace from the start and took the lead for the first few hundred yards. Petone nearest and Adamo on the far side were next to show up, and they forged ahead with Adamo going slightly faster and soon taking the lead. Petone passed the tiring West End pair, and as they neared the finishing line, Petone on the near side overhauled Adamo hand over fist. It looked as though they might get there, but Adamo made a supreme effort to hold their lead and win by 2 feet from Petone. It was Adamo's first victory in the double sculls, and this year's crew were J. Snyder and D. Simonson. In the championship senior fours, Avon led Adamo, Napier and Port Chalmers on one side of the course, and on the other side, Petone were rowing fast ahead of Auckland and Waitemata. With 100 yards to go, Avon was still leading, but Adamo had more in reserve, and with a terrific finishing burst, passed Avon right on the line to win by a canvas and give Adamo their second national title. 7 scullers started in the championship singles, with title holder Snyder of Adamo in lane 1, nearest the camera. Snyder took the lead almost from the gun, and a good tussle seemed likely when Hegland of Wairau drew away from the others to challenge for the lead. But near the quarter mile, Snyder went outside a buoy marking the course.